There's Rex, he's tucked up in his crate, and we're just going to drive home now. And yeah, we'll have a little talk about the Vikings a bit while I'm driving. Oh, that was a bad start. Watch my gearbox. We are just leaving the golf club. I had a little walk around there. Yeah, it's what is it? It's Saturday, the 7th of January, 2023. So, what do we know about the Vikings? Well, the Vikings, they never really wrote much down themselves, about themselves. They wrote on runestones and on artifacts like combs and jewelry and that. But that's about it. But other people wrote about them. People down in the Frankish Empire. And the Anglo-Saxons wrote about them, and now you have all these new series comes out, like the Vikings and Vikings Valhalla and what have you. But let's have a look at the facts there. The Viking pagans against Christians. They didn't, I mean, the Vikings back then, they didn't hate Christians. Of course they did not. I mean, when they raided, like England or that, they raided easy targets. And that would be churches. It was a hit and run, and away they went. But there wasn't that hatred, as people say. The pagans hated the Christians and vice versa. It wasn't like that. I mean, you go back in time to even the start of the 8th century. There was missionaries in Denmark alone teaching the Danes about Christianity. One of the rulers back then, Harold Clack. Nobody knows what clack means. It's just something that came up in the 11th century, I believe. But anyway, there was a king called Harold Clack, and he ruled Denmark. Just a minute. He was a cold king between about the years 812 to 827, and this is on and off. He had 3 reigns. And in 826 he got baptized down in the Frankish Empire, I believe it was down there. He got baptized, and he came back. He was in Denmark with 2 monks. One was called Ansgar, and the other one was called Albert. And they came down to educate the Danes on Christianity. So Christianity was nothing new to the Vikings. Absolutely not. I mean, most runestones, you find Viking runestones, are Christian. And that's a fact. Even the ones, you have some in Sweden, where you have Vikings that were killed in Sweden, and they have their runestone raised in Sweden, and to, you know, a memorial stone for him who died over there. And they were Christian runestones. So these were Viking Christians. So it was nothing new. But it really didn't pick up back then. I mean, it took a long time for Christianity to be spread around Scandinavia. It did. I mean, the last pagan, if you like, want to call him, the last non-Christian king in Denmark was Gorm the Old. He was born before the year 900. And he ruled, I believe, from 936 until 958. And there have been quotes that it might have been 963 or 964. We do not know. But he was the last non-Christian Viking king in Denmark. And then he had a son, you know, and his name was Harald Bluetooth. And he ruled from 958 to 986 approximately. He turned, as they say, there's debated discussions about this, the Danes into Christians. But the conversion, what he's done in the conversion has been contested by medieval scholars or writers. We'll never really know the true stories of that because they didn't write it down themselves, and we're just, you know, it's a guess game, you know. But without a doubt, Christianity was well known way before the first Vikings went on their travels. I mean, Vikings didn't just spring up in 793, you know, and die out in 1066. That's the English version. Here, over, you know, during the Iron Age, before 793, they were raiding and trading long before that, down south and this. And the lands to the west was very well known. Again, you know, you see that in Viking seasons. Oh, we found countries to the west, and there's a country called England. They knew about England long before that. I mean, the Jutes and the Saxons, they moved there centuries before. So of course they knew about it. So the pagan Vikings, they didn't attack and just kill monks for the hell of it, you know. It was easy targets to get their plunder. In fact, it was first after Harald Bluetooth that the powerful Viking armies become to evolve under Christianity. I mean, Sven, you look at Sven Forkbeard, this is Harald Bluetooth's son. He was a powerful Viking. And they say very barbaric. Straightforward bit. But here, I'll talk about him in another video. And then you had Knut the Great. Or he was, in my view, the most powerful Viking ever to live. He ruled over England, Denmark and Norway, and some of Sweden, which is now Sweden today. He ruled all of this. He had the North Sea Empire. And he was Christian. So for anybody to say, you know, and I have heard this before, that there were no Viking Christians. Well, there was. And the proof is in the runestones as well. There are so many runestones with Christian runestones. And not only that, it was quite easy for those, for the people back then to add a new god, Jesus or whatever, because they had so many. One more is fine, you know. I mean, all the runestones on the island of Bornholm are Christian, except for two. I always have that belief that there are two here on the island that are not Christian. The rest are. That's out of 40. And it's the same in Sweden. They have over 2,000 runestones there. Most of them are Christian. It's the same in Denmark. Most of them are Christian. Runestones. And they were a much better fighting force back then when they were Christians. Before, you know, after they became Christians, because they started to unite more. You know, runestones here on the island of Bornholm, they didn't start to appear until around the year 1050 or something. So we have a rough idea that that is about that time maybe that Denmark took over Bornholm. We don't know. That is still up for debate. So yes, that's the fact, that there were Viking Christians. And you can see this field I am now driving next to now, eh? You know, they say that along here there was a pagan camp around the year 1100 or the late 1050 maybe. They have found stuff here that would suggest there was a camp here on this field. And over there, on the other side, they were putting Christians. So they lived together. They lived in the same place. So they had Viking Christians here, over there, and Viking pagans there. And they say that the pagans helped build that church straight in front of me. That's a round church, but before that, that was built in around 1150. They started building that. But before that, there was a wooden church there, they say. I'll drive up to it and just quickly show you it. They have 3 runestones in there. You have 2 of the main ones, big ones, and there is a small one up above one of the doors. And these were used more as defense places for the people on the island, during medieval times, because Bornholm was very well exposed, so they would have been used just as much for defence as it would have been for a place of prayer. We have 4 of these round churches on the island. I have done the video on that. I'll do another one, an updated one. It's a beautiful church actually. It's the largest one on the island. And that's Lars church. And like I say, over there, somewhere near that farm over there, there would have been maybe a pagan site there. So they live side by side. I mean, the whole of the island, and I know that, I don't care what anybody says, was probably around 1100, year 1100, we would have probably been all Christians here. About 100 years after those in Denmark became fully Christian. But even here, you know, we would have known about Christianity, because people from this island, they travelled all the way down south as well and traded. There's proof of that. That's again another video. I'm going to have fun doing YouTube videos. But it doesn't do anybody any favours that's saying that non-Christian Vikings hated the Christians. That's, to be honest with you, that's rubbish. They say over in Denmark it went peacefully, the transition period. We don't know here on the island, we're not sure, because so much of the treasure that have been found here was during conversion times on Bornholm. And most of the treasure was found that would been buried during the transition period. But it's still not proved if it was violent or if it was not violent. Christianity. The reason Harold Bluetooth, they say, needed to become Christian was because of the threat from the south, you know, the Holy Roman Empire, what is now in Germany. You know, this was a powerful nation down there, a powerful place, you know, and they could have invaded Denmark and turned us to Christian, but that didn't happen because Bluetooth was smart. He made a political decision there. And along this field here to my right, I have found a huge amount of Viking treasure on that field to my right here. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because there's no point. Actually, still metal detecting on there. And that wood there to my right, that is some of the finest Viking graves on the island. I can do another video of those. I've done quite a few of it actually. Some nice Viking graves in there, and Iron Age graves, and Bronze Age. There's a lot of history in that forest. I live near there. Where I'm going now, I'm going home. That's another, I'll have to get a lot more in detail on some of these videos now than what I used to. Like I want to talk about people like Sven Forkbed and Knut the Great and Harald Bluetooth and some of the kings in Norway. I mean, in Norway, Christianity didn't happen so peacefully. There was a king there called Olaf. You know, he tried to turn them into Christians, but they didn't turn out too well for him, I don't believe. But I'll have to look that up, and we'll talk about that another day. But anyway, I'm getting near my home now. This is where I live. This is my road. That's why I've done a lot of videos on them Viking graves, because I live next door to it. It's kind of more or less, you know, it's a 2-minute walk from my home, and I'm in the Viking with my dog Rex. I often sit there and have a coffee in the morning and say hello to them. I'm quite emotional like that, you know. Look at that beautiful ash tree. Ah, there you go. The tree of life. That is huge. I've been there. Ooh. Long time. And in there to my right is where the Viking graves are. You can drive up there. And in fact, if you go up into the farm, they do some of the best honey you'll ever find. Homemade honey. And that's in there. You can see that sign there with that's history sign. That's where the Viking graves are. And the honey house. It's beautiful. It's a lovely walk down there. So if you're ever on the island and you visit, I'll write it in the description where it is. And if you're ever on Bornholm, go and see it. It's really, really good. But anyway, I'm going to turn off now because I'm near my house, and there is no point in me filming my house. Okay, but thanks for watching, everybody, if you got it this far. Bye.